more sense. But like average people trying to pay for gas, like that kind of, you could see that could be a little bit harmful. I feel like.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I think that's like that just entirely hit the mark. You know,
having a carbon tax.
Yeah, having carbon tax because like that I think could really hurt undeservedly. So like the average person, you know.
No doubt about it. But the only way you can get off fossil fuels is if you make it so penalizing to drive a car.
Or maybe move to an electric car, like yourself.
Or that's another option, definitely.
Right,
Mass
so
transit, that kind of thing.
2 states allow all individuals. Well, to be honest, like maybe not Tesla dealers aren't always in reach for everyone. Mass transit, you know.
Right.
That.
I don't dispute that it's, a lower income people spend more of their disposable income on things like gas, transportation. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I just worry that because that like hurts the lowest people probably more than it's going to end up hurting the people who are doing the most pollution.
Well, there's also, you're saying put in a carbon tax for companies too?
Make sure it focuses mostly on companies is what I would say.
So some sort of subsidy for low-income people to, like, gas stamps kind of thing?
Like if you're... Well, really, I think if you're putting out a certain amount, like you're putting out a ridiculous amount of, releasing tons of carbon in the air, I think you should be taxed on that. And maybe that tax goes towards
if you're
a Green New Deal or something like that. Like, for example, if you're, like, making natural gas or whatever, and you drive by New Jersey, you see all the smokestacks. It's like those companies that are putting out all that stuff. Like if they want to continue to do that, I think they should be taxed on that. Like that there should be a carbon tax for that. But someone who's like just trying to put gas in their car to get to work every day, I don't think that should be. I don't think that's right.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can finesse it however you want, but the bottom line is we have to pollute less. Right, and it's such an enormous job. There has to be some way to get going on it. Even China is becoming a believer now,
What, with the carbon tax?
No, they need to stop polluting so much.
Yeah, I think polluting in general, there's different ways to do that. And I think especially would be interesting if there's a carbon tax put in place now to fund like a transformation towards a Green New Deal. I think that'd be an interesting way to go.
Absolutely.
And that'd be one of the contributing funders for, I think, your Green New Deal. And just bringing these people who have had the knowledge about climate change for so long and not been very talkative about it, like the accountability, I think there is something that should be important. It is important for
no doubt about it.
The way we go through it. Forward.
But I think the extreme weather has been serving as a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
I feel like we should definitely be getting more snow at this point here.
Absolutely.
All right, so voting and prisons. 2 states right now allow all individuals to vote from prison, and many states restrict voting for convicted felons after release. All prisoners, some prisoners, only after release all prisoners, or only after release some prisoners should be allowed to vote.
After release all prisoners.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this issue, I think it's just something that I don't see what, if you're in jail, I feel like that's something that is kind of enough punishment. Like, I don't get, maybe it's because, like, I'm younger, but I just don't see the logic in, denying people's rights to vote.
Think of it as something that comes in lockstep with your penalty. So your penalty for committing a crime is incarceration and lack and removal of your right to vote. Is that, okay, you may think that's too extreme, but it should definitely end when you get out because
Yeah, you paid your price.
you paid your debt, and you should. It's hard enough for an ex-con to have a life and be engaged, and you want them to be engaged in their society, in their community. You want them to vote. You want them to be a productive member of society. So disenfranchising them more than they already are, I think, is short-sighted.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see, like, if you're in jail, you deserve to be in jail. But the logic with me for that is the idea that, it comes in lockstep with your penalty, like, I just don't see why necessarily that is. I mean, if you're a citizen, I think you have the right to vote. But I don't know. We will move on to question 8. Current law prohibits the use of federal funding for abortions except in cases of rape, incest, or when the health of the mother is at risk. Federal funding for abortions should or should not be restricted.
Should not be restricted.
All right. Okay, so a universal basic income would give every adult a monthly payment from the federal government. The U.S. should or should not consider a universal basic income.
I thought Andrew Yang dropped out.
They still have this question in there for some reason.
I think that would work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like I just have some doubts coming at it from a perspective of, it just seems like, I don't know if it covers the things that, like, you needed to cover. Like, it's just, I don't know. It just isn't, something about it doesn't seem right. I just can't place what it is, you know?
I know. I think it may not be perfect. Definitely not. And maybe
like, is it
some
enough?
means test is needed, and you shouldn't. Anyone making over 100,000 shouldn't get it, or 50,000, or some combination. But I don't know. It's going to be something to account for this income inequality. It seems like the most efficient way to do it.
With the universal basic income,
Right.
yeah, I mean that it's supported by only Gabbard, Warren, and Yang. Interestingly enough, under unemployment guarantee, every American would be entitled to a job if they want it. The U.S. should or should not consider enacting a jobs guarantee.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I think you can leave that in a lot of ways to the private sector and education. Your educational system should be able to give people a job.
Should be like your level of education, you mean?
Yeah, and do I guarantee you a minimum wage job?
Yeah, I mean, I think a minimum wage job, but it would be under a good administration that would put that out. It would be a job where you have a minimum wage that's enough to live.
It seems too nanny state to me.
Like, you're more of a kind of a rugged individualism type person?
No, I think you should definitely, as a society, help those less fortunate, but you shouldn't dictate. You shouldn't be a centrally planned economy where the government is directing the allocation of resources.
Would you support some kind of a jobs bureau of some kind where each American who wants one would get help finding one, maybe?
Something like that. Yeah, sure.
Okay. The Obama administration focused its deportation efforts on 3 groups: recent border crossers, convicted criminals, and national security threats. The U.S. should halt deportations, focused on convicted criminals and threats only, focus on all 3 groups, or aim to deport anyone in the country illegally.
I'm more of a... more of the path to citizenship idea, but I think
It was more about like deportation.
yeah. So what were the three groups again?
Recent border crossers, convicted criminals, or national security threats. But what you could do is halt deportations, focus on convicted criminals and threats only, focus on all three groups, or aim to just deport anybody in the country illegally, just cast the widest net, kind of.
I think the criminals definitely.
Yeah.
Recent border crossings. That seems the easiest way.
The easiest way to, like, so...
Yes. What was the third group? Recent border crossings?
Convicted criminals and national security threats.
Yeah, I'm fine with kicking those three
Focus on
out.
three groups. Okay. Interesting.
Because we don't have a secure border. We should.
I think that's like, because I'm reading that book, Enrique's Journey, and that kind of really, I think that opens your eyes. It's a book that was like happening a long time ago, but we hear the same stuff kind of with the family separations, and the same people from the same countries are still coming over and over again. Like, I don't think deportations, I just don't get the sense deportation is the way we solve immigration. Like, I think we got to go, because it's the problems in the countries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really, if you look back in history, the way the U.S. has conducted itself, especially in those countries, like we have some part to play for why there's so many people coming up in there. Like the times we have messed with their governments, I mean, it creates a bad situation now.
Well, I do believe you should allow a certain amount of immigration, but you should have control over your borders if at all possible.
I think we do. I think we have control over our border. Like, we're catching people and making sure I think we're holding border crossers to account at this point. Could you not say that?
I think we should. It's more of a refugee crisis, so we should do more to help refugees, like we do.
But
all
then,
over the world,
why would we want to focus specifically then on the recent border crossers?
Well, I think the people that are here already, and this is just my opinion, I think, well, that's good on them for getting in, bad on us for not having a secure border. But the people who are just coming in now, it seems like we should stop it. Stop people coming in illegally, have an orderly border immigration system where, we let in, have some method to how many people we let in, why we let them in, how much for asylum seekers.
And I mean, I feel like with a lot of people, they're not necessarily, like, their asylum cases may not be the strongest, but like what they're fleeing there is just like absolute chaos and violence. And I mean, I don't know why, and it's kind of the same logic with the college that we were talking about earlier, is before we went on the show, but it's like just because we decide to do it now, like, why do the people who are still to come, like, why do they have to suffer? Because I get the sense like the situations aren't getting any better, and there are people that are still coming. They want to find a better life. They want to get freedom for their kids. They want to find work, whatever. And they're maybe escaping more imminent threats of violence, bad relationships, like their kid got involved in some sort of gang or whatever. Like,
I totally agree. The stories you hear are just unreal. How bad it seems to be in these countries.
Yeah, I
totally get it.
Would you want to change it to focus on convicted criminals and threats only?
Well, you can't deport a recent border crosser. I would say I would keep it there, but I would say I'd probably let more stay. I'd probably have a higher level of asylum seekers, or find some way to at least detain people until their asylum hearings are completed.
So you think there would be a better way to? I think
there's a more humane way to manage the entire process.
I think that's really what we're doing now. It's like we're keeping these people, because normally it was more the catch and release policy, right? Like, the Trump always